Perfecting the squat. There are 3 things that we should be thinking about while squatting that applies to everyone. Please stay tuned to the end of the video to find out what it is. So obviously there is no perfect way to squat. There is no perfect technique. There is only the right technique and way to squat for the individual person. And that, of course, will change over time. As you gain muscle mass, as you gain experience, your squat pattern will change a little bit. The most important thing is, how does it feel? How does it look to you? And is it following some general guidelines that a good squat will follow? Not everyone is going to squat exactly the same, but everyone is generally going to have a few principles, let's say, to follow as they squat to create a very strong squat. So today, day 1 is my squat focus day. I actually start the day off with 4 sets of 12 on leg press, and I do not go light. On RP 7, 8, and the last 2 sets are 9. I hit 990 here. After every single set, I felt like I was going to freaking puke. Why am I doing this? Well, 1, this does not bother the tendonitis I have in my right knee and allows me to overload the quads, and it is still a squat pattern, the way the legs are moving. Now, is this optimal to do all my bodybuilding work before my heavy squats? No. And because I'm getting more comfortable with my knee, I will probably be switching over to squatting first. But the last few months, I have been doing my bodybuilding beforehand because that's what felt best. That's what felt best for my knee. It allowed my quads to get a lot of work. And I've definitely noticed it in my squat today. Because of how strong I was, even though I hadn't been squatting for like 2 months. So my first set is supposed to be an RP of 7 for 3. This is 595. Now you're going to see the walkout's a little, it's not as smooth as I would like it. There's a couple reasons. 1, I was not used to the rack. And 2, I have not been squatting with any substantial weight on my back for a little bit. But I was still pretty happy with how this moved. Over time, as I get more comfortable with this heavier weight, I do want the concentric, or that up portion, to be a little more snappy, a little bit more powerful on the way up. And now we're moving on to the big 650 squat. I felt like I had a lot more strength there to go heavier that day, but as you'll see when I unrack the bar, my legs and my lower body, my glutes, everything was very shaky from the volume and intensity I did with the bodybuilding work beforehand. So I stopped at 650, even though I felt like maybe 672, 675 was there if I was, fresh. But of course, the knee was feeling good, so I was able to push the weight regardless, and I'm still very happy with how everything moved. So the grip I'm using here, you'll see, is a talent grip. Because I do not have the most mobile shoulders in the world. All right, here we go, 650. First rep moved all right. Second, a little bit better, a little bit deeper. The third here, I get nice and deep. Very happy with that. Nice and stable. Repeatable rep every single time. And rack. All right, what are a couple things you want to think about while squatting to perfect your technique? All right. So when we're talking about the perfect squat and what to do, we have to realize that it comes down to the unique lifter. Some may squat very wide, some may squat very shallow, very narrow. Some squat a little more shallow, maybe just the hip crease below the kneecap. Some squat ass to grass. It depends on you and your goals, and that's why you should really be working with a powerlifting or a performance coach. But there are about 3 things that every lift, every squat should have to make sure that we're perfecting our technique. 1, we need to make sure that we're not compromising the torso, right? We don't want to have excessive rounding in our lower back or in our upper back. It should be one nice stiff column so that the muscles that we want to produce the force, our glutes, our quads, are actually doing so, and that we're not compromising the lift by having weak points in our torso. So that's one. Two is going to be symmetry on each side, right? If our knees come in a little bit, that's not the biggest deal in the world. But if our left knee stays out and our right knee comes in, then we have an asymmetry, and that can lead to some issues down the line. That's something that we need to make sure we take care of. And lastly is going to be that depth. Make sure you have repeatable depth, a repeatable execution each and every time you squat. So one squat, rep 1, you'll squat all the way down, ass to grass, but then rep 2, you kind of squat a little shallow, and then rep 3, you're high. That's an issue. And as you'll see earlier in the video with my 650 squat, I got down a little deeper each time I squatted because I haven't squatted in a few months. So I'm still trying to find out that depth. Over time though, as you perfect your technique, your depth should be perfect every single time and be able to repeat that. So if you go and compete, you will be sure that you're not going to, miss depth. All right, there it is. Very general advice, but a few things that you might want to be looking for while you squat so you can get the most out of your lifts. Now, it comes down to the individual lifter to find out what unique technique works best for them, but there are a few rules, obviously, that we went through today that kind of applies to everyone, or most people, I should say. If you're interested into getting your results faster, better, and safer, please reach out to a performance coach or a powerlifting coach like myself, tankstrengthcoaching.com, or at tankstrengthcoaching@gmail.com. I'll be sure to answer any questions you have.